Good morning, everyone. I want to echo Greg and Jen's thanks to our sponsors and extend a special thank you to you for coming this morning to hear a little bit about the work that we do. I'm going to spend a few minutes just talking about EARN as an organization. We're a nonprofit based here in San Francisco, and we have three core promises. We want to provide asset-building products and services to low-wage workers in the Bay Area. We want to do this in a way that models scale, because even though we want to impact our community, we have a bigger vision of how this can impact low-wage workers everywhere through the work that we're showing. And we also want to drive the policies that will be required to achieve that vision of scale. You might wonder, with all the needs that face low-wage workers and families that struggle, why there's such a focus on assets. And I guess I probably don't need to tell this group why assets matter, but I wanted to just say a few words about that in the context of our work. If you really look at upward mobility throughout the history of the United States, it's not about getting income and covering your expenses. It's about saving and investing in assets that create prosperity across generations. Our goal is to break the cycle of poverty for people who are working poor and to create new cycles of prosperity that travel across generations. You can't do that unless you're focused on the assets that have proven to create that sort of prosperity for middle and upper income families. And so in some ways, this is not a revolutionary idea, but it's a radical approach to something that's really at the heart of American economic values. And our work, at its heart, is about restoring integrity and opportunity to the American dream. And that's why assets are at the heart of what we do. I know that when we get into the details of our work, there are often a lot of questions about exactly how we make this happen. It sounds like such a challenging thing to help people who are struggling to get by. And so I thought I would spend a few minutes just describing some of the details of the tools we use to actually help people in the work that we do at EARN. The main tool that we use is something called an Individual Development Account, or an IDA. And this is a matched savings account. And it's funded in part by the federal government and in part through donations from generous people like you and by the folks like our sponsors. And when people open one of these accounts, they have to be working, they have to be earning under a certain amount of income, and they have to have this money set aside in escrow only to be used for home ownership, to go to college, or to start a small business. Now, all the money that we raise through the Real Estate Auxiliary is earmarked specifically to serve our savers who are saving for home ownership. A couple of important things, and I'm going to cover this a few times in my comments. While people earn under $38,000 a year when they begin, their income is allowed to go up, and for the people who buy homes, it does go up. And people have years to clean up their credit and also find ways to combine resources to make homeownership possible. But these are some of the basics. If you want to see it graphically, because it's sort of an abstract idea, you can see here how the matches add up. We get $1 from donors like you. We're able to match that instantly through a federal grant that we've won. And then the family matches that again, and that's how the savings works. And so this is just the nuts and bolts of what we do. The important part, though, are the outcomes. And since 2002, I think despite people who thought that this would never happen because we really got rolling in a recession, we have been stunned at the level of success we've seen. And I think that the people we serve have belied so many of the stereotypes and preconceived notions we have about what people can achieve. And it's a lesson about what people can do if you give them the tools when they already have the strength to dream. Since 2002, we've had almost 2,000 families that we've begun to help save. This is a group of people who, on average, are earning way less than half the average income in San Francisco when they begin with us. But they have actually put aside consistently 5% of their gross income in savings at a time when the national savings rate has hovered around 0. And since 2002, this group has saved over $1.5 million of their own money without our match. And they're not just saving, but they're investing. And the investments aren't just for these households, they're also for the community. I mean, this is, when I talked about our desire to do this at scale, 2,000 families is a small number, but we've leveraged, many millions of dollars into the local economy, mostly in the form of mortgages. And so our vision is to understand how to add zeros to this. I want to come back to this question of how people are actually able to buy homes, because Some of you are probably wondering how folks really make it work, and you're going to hear directly from some of our savers who will answer that question, but I thought I'd just cover some of the basics as well. We really provide people with the tools that they need to succeed. It starts with money management training. You can't open one of these accounts with Earn unless you go through 8 hours of money management training that we provide through our staff in English and Spanish and in Cantonese if people need it. And people, many of them for the first time, create a budget, they create a spending plan, and they've got a line item that shows what they're going to save every month. And in that training, they also, if homeownership is their goal, they begin to think about what it's going to take to make that happen. They understand what their income would need to be if they were going to own a $450,000 home. And they begin to vision what it will take to get there. They also, and that's the part about increasing income and focusing on the goal. People make different sorts of choices when they're catalyzed with the possibility of owning a home. And for so many people, this has just felt impossible. But suddenly, there's a chance, and people make all sorts of different choices, and really powerful things begin to happen. We also encourage people to join forces with family members, and a lot of people will convince a family member or a partner to also open one of these accounts. So it's not just one of these accounts, but it's 2 that goes into the purchase of a home. And we, of course, layer these with other subsidies. And this is how we're able to make this happen for folks. And I just want to say, we're very conscious of making sure people can keep these homes. And so we have a number of rules that are designed to make sure people get good mortgages. And I'm happy to say, you look at the results, and we've had incredible success. We've had 50 families who've purchased homes since 2002. I feel like we're just getting started. Almost all of them actually have used 30-year fixed-rate mortgages. We don't have anybody who has used a negative amortizing loan. And so we're convinced that this is the beginning of helping someone not just own a home, but to keep it and to kick off that cycle of prosperity that's going to travel across generations.